The invisible theater you don't realize you're performing. Have you ever stopped to think about how many versions of yourself you play each day? Maybe you wake up and already don one persona to deal with your boss, then another to reply with happy emojis, even when you don't feel like it. At night, maybe you pretend to be okay, just to avoid worrying your family. The strangest thing is that no one forces you to do this. It's as if, from an early age, you learned that showing your true self isn't worth it, that it's safer to be what's expected of you. And so begins an invisible, silent, daily theater, where each person plays multiple roles, but rarely lives their true essence. In the digital world, this becomes even more evident. You look at social media and see successful, beautiful, motivated people and feel like you need to appear the same. But it's not just online. It's at work when you hide your exhaustion. It's in friendships when you laugh to keep the mood light. It's in love when you remain silent so as not to alienate others. Little by little, the fear of being judged creates a filter between you and your truth. And this filter, so overused, becomes part of the face. But pretending comes at a price, and it's not just emotional, it's physical. It's that fatigue that comes not from the body, but from the soul. That weariness that gets you even when everything seems to be going right. Because living acting is like running with a backpack full of masks. At some point, the weight takes its toll. The worst part is that this collective theater has no audience. Everyone is acting, but no one is really watching. And deep down, maybe everyone just wants to stop pretending, but no one knows how to get off stage.
The perfection trap and the fear of disappointment. In a world where everything is measured, compared, and published, appearing perfect has become an obligation. It's not enough to be good. You have to appear impeccable. People don't just want to get it right, they want others to know they got it right. And when they make a mistake, silence, shame, withdrawal. Because failure, today, isn't just a stumble, it's a risk of rejection. With every post, with every choice, there's an invisible voice saying, "Don't disappoint." This pressure doesn't just come from outside, it also comes from within. It stems from the fear of not living up to the image you've built for yourself. It stems from the anxiety of losing validation if you're too genuine. And so, authenticity is suffocated by performance. The perfection trap is subtle. It starts with small adjustments. You lie about how well you're doing, exaggerate an achievement, omit a weakness. Soon, it becomes routine. And before you know it, you no longer know where the image ends and the person begins. The fear of disappointment doesn't just affect relationships. It sabotages decisions. You stop trying something new because you don't want to fail. You avoid honest conversations for fear of appearing vulnerable. You maintain a predictable, acceptable, pleasant life, but one that isn't yours. And the more you try to maintain this facade, the further you distance yourself from what you truly feel. Philosophically, this is the opposite of conscious living. Living well isn't about eliminating mistakes. It's about having the courage to show yourself as incomplete. It's not about impressing everyone. It's about connecting with those who recognize you even on your bad days. True freedom begins when you understand that you don't need to pretend to deserve respect, that you don't need to be perfect to be valuable. The problem is that no one teaches this. On the contrary, the world screams for perfection all the time. But perhaps it's precisely the imperfect that brings us closer together. Human beings aren't a showcase, they're a process. And every process has flaws, pauses, and falls. And that's okay.
The courage to be who you are, even when no one understands. Being yourself seems like a simple phrase, but in practice, it can be one of the most difficult decisions anyone can make. Because being yourself isn't about doing everything you want or saying everything you think. It's having the courage to stand by your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's different, even when no one understands. In a world molded to fit in, being authentic is almost an act of rebellion. Because authenticity requires knowing yourself. And knowing yourself takes work. It means looking inside yourself with sincerity, accepting contradictions, embracing wounds, acknowledging desires you've tried to hide. It's not comfortable, but it's liberating. Have you ever stopped to think about how many times you held back from expressing your feelings just to avoid causing conflict? How many times have you said yes when you meant no? How many times have you smiled to avoid having to explain your pain? This kind of silence builds up inside us until eventually our bodies begin to speak what our mouths didn't dare. Anxiety, insomnia, and fatigue for no reason. Sometimes the weight we feel doesn't come from what we carry, but from what we keep silent. Philosophy reminds us that living authentically isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Because when you deny who you are, you also deny the possibility of being truly loved. And living without that, deep down, is living alone. The most beautiful thing of all is that you don't need to be understood by everyone. You need to be true to yourself. And that's rarer than it seems. Amidst so much noise, so many masks, those who have the courage to be real stand out. Not because they're perfect, but because they're whole. And being whole is when what you think, feel, and do are finally in harmony. When life stops being a theater and becomes presence again. When the fear of disappointment gives way to the peace of living as you are. Even if it takes time, even if it's difficult, it's worth it.